I remember you saying, again, I don't remember if I read that or it was in a conference, that you didn't really like to have to deal with synchronization because it was too hard. So it has to do with having to build everything from scratch.
I think every new generation of startups is built on the technology and the platforms that came before it. That's kind of why we called our current product studio all turtles. It's the idea is that it's turtles all the way down. So anything we build, we stand on the shoulders of the platforms that come before us, and we support the ones that come after us. And so when we started working on Evernote, it was in 2007. Um, there were useful platforms already. 2000, the biggest one was probably in 2008 when Apple launched the App Store. We didn't have to build an app store. That was very good. We had benefited
Yes.
tremendously from that. But it was before, for example, AWS. So yeah, so we had to have our own servers in a data center. We eventually moved it. After I left, they moved it to
Hmm.
Google, I think.
Yes.
But yeah, we build all of our own stuff. Whereas now, like if I start a company now, like in fact with any of the companies I've been involved with more recently, of course we don't build our own data centers. We just use the Linux platform. So I think this is the pattern. So every generation of companies that started takes advantage of the previous platforms, and that's why it's actually pretty difficult for a startup to stay relevant for 10 years. Usually there's within that period of time, the new platforms are so much better that somebody starting new would be able to would have a massive advantage. And most companies can't like rewrite their infrastructure every few years. It's just
I
way too
see.
expensive. So it's always good to start something new every few years.
So 100 years was a really tough goal, right?
Yeah, we talked about a lot, and I still believe it. Making a 100-year startup,
Hmm.
and of course we knew we would have to reinvent ourselves, and
Hmm.
it was really a cultural. It was a cultural value, right? That we want to make a 100-year startup. We want to make a company that is going to survive for a long time, longer than us, like longer than
Uh-huh.
me, and it's still going to be innovative in a startup. So I think it was a very useful way of orienting our decisions.
Yeah, now listening to you, it all makes sense. It's not just 100-year company, not just 100-year startup. It's the 100-year with all the problems that 100-year startup has. Like you said,
Right.
you have to put one thing on top of another, recreate everything. Now it makes a lot of sense. And you're messing up my script because I had one question about where the name all turtles came from. You're messing up my note.
Right.
I thought you had something with animals that want to walk slow
Yeah.
and
There you go.
slow.
Well, it's there's a creation myth in a few different cultures that the Earth is a big globe, and it's on the back of an elephant, and the elephant is standing on the back of a giant turtle. And so my previous company was the elephant, the next one was the turtle. So it makes sense.
It makes sense. Okay. I have just a few other questions about Evernote and then we can move on. But I would like to talk about I mean, all the hard questions, right? A hard thing that was deciding what products to create because at some point Evernote had so many products, so many software,
Yeah.
and I believe that you would receive suggestions from people that work for you, people like me. You would read something. I remember that in a podcast you told that the Peak, Evernote Peak idea came from, I think, coming back from a conference, and you were playing with the Evernote with the iPad,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the
uh,
cover.
the cover. I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that product.
that
I'm
was
so
cool.
yeah, that product was great. So what how and how did you decide what how I mean, not only Evernote, it can extrapolate for today. How do you decide what to build, what to spend energy on when there's so many ideas? For example, today, I'm sure you are bombarded with ideas. How do you decide that?
Well, I mean, I think this is the one of the central challenges, one of the central hard things, and I think the industry kind of oscillates pretty much between them. I when I was in college, I was studying computer science. I had this textbook, this classic computer science textbook, forget which one it was, probably written by Stevens or something. And this was for it was a class for what we learned machine language and assembly language. And so there was an exercise that we were assigned to do, and the exercise was, use in assembly language, write a simple text editor. Okay, and it was like, question 17, write a simple text editor, and then it was like 17A said, how would you extend your simple text editor to include cursor controls so that you can use the cursor to move the arrows. Okay, 17B was, okay, how would you expand the simple text editor so that you can redo and undo modifications? C was, how would you extend your simple text editor so that you could do a graphical interface with a mouse? 'Cause graphical interface was just
Okay.
getting started back then. And then D was, how would you do it so that multiple people could edit at the same time? And E was, how would you do this so that you can link
Hmm.
together multiple nodes? And it was like a lot of these things. And then somewhere around question 17, Z is said, when should you have stopped adding features to your simple text editor? And that was like a very important lesson that I never learned in college, but but probably should have. Like I think I sort of laughed at that and didn't really sink into my head. But it's actually a very profound question. It's like
It is.
when should you stop adding features to your simple text editor? And I think the way that Silicon Valley builds tech startups, it's very hard to do that because as you succeed, all of the incentives are to get more investment, more money. You hire more people. Those people have good ideas. So like everything's about growing, 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 growing. And that's a different mindset than like a tool maker, where if you're making a great tool, a hammer or something, or a knife, like you're not necessarily trying to add more stuff to it. You're just trying to make it perfect. And I'm always caught between those balance, like the desire to make more stuff and the desire to really like continuously perfect something, like the difference between being a craftsman, an artisan, and
Uh-huh.
something that was meant for kind of mass production. And there's no right answer to it. I think you have to find the
Hmm.
balance, but that balance depends on so many things, and it's always
Would
hard
you
to get
say that
right.
testing, trying, and or is there any? I don't know. There's no. I'm sure there's no textbook for that, but you think trying is the best way to go here?
Yeah, I mean, I think at Evernote and now at we have a big advantage that we're building things largely for ourselves. So it's easy to know if something is working because we just use it ourselves. And
Hmm.
if we like it and if we use it, then it's a very strong indicator that other people will like it as well. And if we make something and we don't really like it, we don't really use it, then it's a very strong indicator that other people aren't going to like it. Um, you can't do that in every company because most products and most companies aren't made for the people who make them. So this is a way of cheating.
Okay.
Um, it's hard otherwise. But for us, yeah, the best thing is that we use it ourselves, that we like it ourselves. But I think at Evernote we made a lot of stuff, and a lot of it was very good. Almost everything we shipped was very good because the stuff that we didn't like, we didn't ship.
Yeah.
But it was probably too much stuff because most
Yeah, but
most of it didn't matter.
yeah, probably, but I missed most of them, to
Yeah,
be honest. I
me
miss
too.
Hello, I missed Food,
Yeah,
I miss Peak, I miss all that because this in fact, this is my other question. When should we it's again, I think it's really hard. When should it be a standalone product or like Hello, like Food, and when should it be a feature, uh in let's call it the parent system. I don't know. Uh, for example, why not have hello and also all the features? You could read business cards, but you didn't have all the features of hello. Why not have all the features of food in Evernote and let people choose? I think this is the same problem Facebook had with Messenger. They spin it off and now they want to bring it back in. So how to deal with that?
yeah. I think there's several related questions here. One is like when, as a startup, right? If you're already a big company, it's different. But as a startup, like when should you start working on a different thing? And I think that's a more actionable question for most people at startups. And I think there the important thing is to understand the difference between um, a pivot versus another thing. So if your first product is successful and it's doing well and it's growing, then you can think about adding the second product, and you probably want to do that based on the rate of growth of the first one, and you say like, okay, well, when would we get higher overall growth by having a second product versus just investing more in the current one, right? There's a point at which you get diminishing returns on the first product and you want to do something else. Like, for example, Apple, after Steve Jobs came back to Apple, they were doing pretty well with Macs. Like, Macs were not a problem. They were doing well. They were starting, like, the MacBooks and Apple Macintoshes were really doing well. They were capturing the market. But they decided to make an iPhone to add on top of that, to add significant growth
Uh-huh.
on top of that. But that wasn't a pivot. For if your product isn't doing well and you're trying to,
Okay.
desperately do something else, then that's different. That's a very different kind of analysis. You have to do that
Mhm.
when you realize that your product isn't doing well. At Evernote, our first product did really well, so we never had to pivot. So for us, we were thinking about, okay, where in the process do we want to introduce a second thing and a third thing and a fourth thing? And I think on balance, we did it too soon. I think we did it before we really hit diminishing returns. I think we probably would have had more growth had we pushed harder on improving the main product as it was succeeding than doing kind of the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So if I had to do it over again, I probably wouldn't have as many products. I'd probably have Evernote, maybe Sketch. I think Sketch was
Which was
really
really
good, and
good.
it was kind of
Yeah.
different enough. So I would
Mhm.
do Evernote and Sketch, and I probably wouldn't do a few of the other things. Um, but yeah, it's always easier to make those decisions in hindsight.
Yeah, hindsight. I hate hindsight. It's so easy. Everything is so easy.
Of course, I'm not going to have a meeting in the metaverse. Obviously not. Why would I do that? Like,
Mhm.
what possible advantage is there of like having a meeting with my coworkers while like wearing something stupid on my face?
Uh-huh.
In fact, like, I don't even need many reasons to say it's stupid. Let's just start with one. It's like, I can't drink coffee in the metaverse because the cup would hit this thing, and
Yeah,
I can't drink coffee, and I'm not willing to have a meeting if I can't drink coffee. So it's like,
I agree.
that's enough, right? It's like, can I drink coffee in this thing? No, well then I'm not using it.